Pretty big story about strategy this afternoon. Remember, the full tank capacity of these cars is only 112 litres of fuel, but the rule requires that you must deliver 140 litres through this race. So it's going to have to be broken into a couple of stops. For simplicity, let's call it 3 litres a lap. Look at the thermo camera, the heat signature left behind those cars.
We'll take a look at the Fuso starting grid here. Great pole position by James Courtney in the shootout today. The story as we go through the first 4 to 5 rows of the field is that Garth Tander has moved to position 7. And that is as a result of an issue with the timing loop at the control line. They had a problem during Garth's shootout lap. They then went and consulted the team, had a look at the data from Garth's lap. The data that the team had, we understand, had better clarity than the manual system that we had defaulted to. So Garth will now start from position 7. Further back here, Chaz Mostert missed out on the shootout today, unfortunately. Remember, he has Greg detailed there in the United Tech Centre before, clouded the wall at turn 8 and was no issue with the car. The rebuild's gone well, we understand, but just took it a little on the easier side in qualifying today. Make sure everything was right. Tough weekend so far for Will Davison with dramas in that car. Hopefully he can get it to the finish today and get some points for Erebus Motorsport. His teammate finished inside the top 10, his rookie teammate Ash Walsh yesterday, but he was deducted some points for that altercation with Dale Wood at turn 4.
So just for the purpose of simple maths, remember that in round terms, the cars burn pretty close to 3 litres a lap of the United E85 on average. It varies enormously with tyre condition, track condition, the temperature of the day, and even the way in which the driver attacks the car lap after lap. But we just use that for our simple averages. Total requirement for the entire race is about 220 litres, but you've got to have space to be able to get 140 litres in, and this is part of the parity measure across the category to ensure that the formula gives everybody an opportunity to fight equally despite the different configuration engines. This man on screen, Michael Caruso, tough day at the office for him yesterday in car number 23. Ended up in the wall at turn 8 and then a long, hard night to resurrect that Nissan Altima.
I know you'll work through some likely strategy scenarios as we go here, but big chance of a safety car based on history as well. 86% chance of a safety car here, and you have to figure that in, factor that in on the run.
And it's the wild card, and you have to be ready to be able to deal with it.
2, 1, roll on, stop there.
We're expecting to see some people come in somewhere around that lap 5 or 6 mark, perhaps. That'll be one strategy play, and we'll talk about that through the afternoon. And then there's another one we call the even tyre strategy as well. We run a little bit longer. If you're up the front, you'll probably need to come in a bit earlier. If you're down the back and trying to recover from poor qualifying, you may choose to run longer.
It is a grueling test of endurance for these drivers, for these teams. They all live the race. A race where anything can happen. Some, like Lowndes and Scaife, have gone from last to first. It can cause heartbreak. It can create heroes. Final race of the weekend is underway. James Courtney is being monstered by Jamie Whincup. Look at Tander in the background. Fabian Coulthard's lost some positions. McLaughlin looks racy through the centre chicane and picks up a spot. Coulthard's been shuffled back here. Van Gisbergen trying to put a move on Tander. Defensive by Coulthard. So the 22, our pole sitter, Courtney, will lead the field from Jamie Whincup, Scott McLaughlin. They are through that first chicane cleanly. Look at Van Gisbergen wide here. Moffat thought he had a really good car in the shootout, just didn't quite deliver, particularly through the first sector. He was so disappointed. The 99 looking fast, off to a good start.
Rick Kelly actually found himself on the grass on the left side of the road on the run to turn 1. Oh, that was a touch. Pretty solid one too. Courtney's made a good jump on cold tyres. Jason Bright looking for a run down the inside on Craig Lowndes. Courtney lost a little bit of ground coming out of turn 9 there. Nick Percat had to jump clean over the top of the turn 11 curb to avoid what would have been contact then. So at the end of the first lap, it is James Courtney, Jamie Whitcomb, Scotty McLaughlin, Fabian Coulthard, Garth Tander, James Moffat, Shane Van Gisbergen. Fives in for his stop. Chris O'Toole at the front of Mark Winterbottom's car. See the pit stop clock down there.
I think that's the 111 in behind him as well, Neil. I think Andre Heimgartner as well, yes.
So it's probably a little bit earlier than we would have expected. But that may even feed Frosty out into some clean air there. Have a good look at that. Courtney's got 0.4 of a second over Whincup. Just got 1.5, maybe 2 car lengths as Van Gisbergen sneaks down the inside of James Moffat.
I have a feeling it was the 4 of Ash Walsh that went really close to the wall that time through turn number 8. Back with our race leader. Now to the final turn, and this lead group of 5, Tander's right in the mix here, have found some space over Van Gisbergen and Moffat. Van Gisbergen in 6th. Marcus Ambrose is in the 10 in that Shell Helix entry for Dick Johnson Racing Team Penske. Here's the start again.
Good jump, James Courtney, read it well. Whincup was strongly positioned there as well, but he didn't really have anywhere to go when he got down to turn 1. This is Chaz. Beg your pardon, it's Mark Winterbottom. Here's the replay of what happened at turn 8. It's actually James Moffat again. I thought it was, but I wanted to bite my tongue until I could be sure. That's twice in 2 days for James. They've all been having a little bit of a problem around there, the Nissan boys, because Michael Caruso was talking about it, not just the incident that he had yesterday, but just finding it difficult to manage at times. So that's a pretty solid whack. And just as it was yesterday, it might be an issue when it comes time for the pit stop if it's had any effect on the wheel nut or the hub.
Super slow-mo looked more violent than when we saw it raw time or real time, didn't it? So will that have an effect on the 99 car as the race unfolds? We have a long way to go in this one. Some pressure being put on Ambrose by Craig Lowndes, who's trying to sneak into the 10.
Lee Holdsworth coming in now as well to grab some United E85. So he's in car number 18 this year. If you haven't been with us during the coverage in the early part of the weekend, he shifted teams, and his team owner, Charlie Schwerkold, has gone from a service provider arrangement with what was Ford Performance Racing. He's now with Walkinshaw Racing with a Holden product.
In almost every session, he's been in the 10. Not quite, but in almost every session, he's been ultra consistent, and that's been the mark of his start to this season with that operation. You ride with the second place man, Jamie Whincup, quickest lap so far at 22.04 as they fly through turn 8.
So they're all now just beginning to feel where they are in the universe with their car. What have I got to race with? What things need to be adjusted, or what have I got to work around? Because sometimes you find very quickly early in the game you've got a really difficult race car, and the opportunity to adjust it has changed in recent years. You can't make those rear roll center changes that were made in years gone by. You can stay in contact with the crew, have a think about the way in which you manage tyres and tyre pressures. You can fiddle around with the anti-roll bars in the car, but much of what's got to be done actually has to come from you, the driver. Try and figure out the best way to manage it. Caruso in.
Okay, tyres are all done. Fast lane is clear. Straight off fuel tank for the rear wheels. Go, 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 go. All right, mate.
So Caruso, Winterbottom, Holdsworth and Heimgartner, 4 who've now come in and taken somewhere in the order of around about 40 or 50 litres of fuel, which tallies with what Greg mentioned a little bit earlier. So starting just down in the fuel capacity early in the race to make space to bring on the total of 140 litres. Looking rearward from Marcus Ambrose's car at turn 8. He's currently in 10th position and he's got his hands full here because Lowndes is just having a peek down the inside. Marcus gave him some space.
Just in terms of the stops we've had so far, 2 tyres for Mark Winterbottom, 2 rear tyres for Lee Holdsworth. Caruso, as you saw there from the shots, taking on 4 tyres in the 23. Little bit of breathing space here for Marcus, but Craig was really strong under brakes at 9. He again closes under brakes at this final turn. Good group battling away here, including Tim Slade, Rick Kelly. Kelly made some good ground in that race yesterday, from 18th to inside the top 10. Middle sector last time around from Chaz Mostert. Update on the leaderboard for you. A margin of almost a second for our race leader over Jamie Whincup, Tander in the 5, and Van Gisbergen chasing very hard early in this final race.
So just a little over 1.2 seconds now, the margin, Courtney to Whincup, as they just try and figure out who's got the firepower. James has got to try and keep that cushion but not eat up the rubber in the process. And Jamie's also got to keep a bit of an eye out on what's going on behind as well, because McLaughlin has got a watching brief going there and he's not terribly far away from the back of the hole. So car 47, I just intercepted a radio message we expect to see in the pit lane on this lap as well. In at the Holden Racing team, the engineering and management group are watching their men at the moment, and they're currently, from the Holden Racing team perspective, positions 1 and 5. Did he brush that?
I don't know if he brushed it, but he certainly had understeer, a big step. Watch this. And remember, he had a step out in the shootout that had everyone's heart racing. So our race leader, Courtney, a moment through 8. We go back and look at the Walkinshaw performance, the super cheap auto entry of Tim Slade.
Waiting.
Curb hops also for David Reynolds and Tim Blanchard.
Clear.
Good effort there by Red Bull Racing Australia for Lowndes. Once that shakes out, good effort versus the super cheap entry.
Early days though, because you've got to take into account the second fuel stop. So it depends on what you started with and what you put in, and it equalises in the second part of the stop. So sometimes, depending on who you are and where your car is in the field, you vary your stationary time based on the amount of fuel that you want to dump in the car. But looks like they got a gain out of that, but they may have to pay a little bit later. But we'll keep an eye on all those for you and try and fill in those blanks as the race unfolds. Still 1.2 seconds, Courtney to Whincup. And it's 0.8 of a second back to McLaughlin. And actually, Jamie just got a curb hop on that lap. It's early in the day for that, in a 250k race.
Watching the Todd Kelly car.
You'll be good to go when you drop. Waiting on fuel.
Currently 19th position.
Go. Okay, so
Look at this. There's a little bit of body language going on here between Tander and Van Gisbergen as they make their run down to the fastest corner on the track, and there's only room for one wide through there, and Shane gets it done. So it's up another spot. Garth was looking to try and do the crisscross on the exit there. Quite a few drivers are lighting up the computer timing here at the moment. Whincup, Rick Kelly, Reynolds and Holdsworth, all curb strikes on that last lap.
Good sectors for both Whincup and McLaughlin. McLaughlin very fast in the first sector, and Whincup doing the job in the second as the Holden Racing team entry pits. Garth Tander in 6th position.
Okay, so we've got a clear run in. Clear running. We're under the boom. Rear tyres only. And we're going to fill out. Line yourself up with me, mate. Yep, that's it. Bring her in, bring her in, bring her in. Yep. Bit short, okay.
So a clear run in for Garth Tander. Rears only, they're saying here, Neil.
Waiting on fuel, waiting on fuel.
Just been passed by Shane Van Gisbergen. And they're putting quite a bit of fuel in that car. This is going to get them to a position where they'll do one more stop around about lap 38, the critical lap, and that'll get them home to the end of the race. And this is the reason why Shane was able to get a run on Garth. Garth had a little bobble through turn 7, and that allowed Shane to get a decent crack up the inside with a better corner exit speed. And there's nothing that Garth can do when he gets down to 8. He can't afford to be down there on the grey line. And there's Garth having that slide right in the mid-corner. He actually tried to come across and cover, but there was nothing he could do about it, and he knew that he was cooked at that point. Actually, Shane went back 2 gears there. So he just wanted, he knew that by turning in underneath Garth, it's so shallow, his mid-corner speed would be down. So he tried to manage it by making sure that he was ready to be able to accelerate the other side, but if anything, he was over-prepared. So Coulthard in from position 4. Race winner yesterday afternoon.
It's a great race win for this outfit. We walked into the garage afterwards, lots of energy and enthusiasm after that. It's been a terrific start to the season in points terms. He's top of the board coming into this race, given his performance also in the first race of the weekend.
Reset fuel, reset fuel. Hopefully he'll come out just ahead of Tander. It'll be close. Just watch the Tander.
Voice of Phil Keed in the background. So they're zeroing the fuel so that Fabian gets a readout, and they also see a fuel burn readout corresponding garage area where the telemetry is displayed. And back out he goes on cold tyres. Car feels really weird for the first lap and a half until the tyre pressures and temperatures normalise. You've got to be a little bit circumspect in the first lap or two, that you suddenly don't try and drive to the rhythm that you had just prior to coming in, because it just isn't the grip level there. And then there's added pressure because you immediately find yourself racing other people. And they've all done it enough now to understand that requirement. Here is Ambrose, 7th in the field at the moment. There's everybody from position 17 back, and that's a queue headed by Mark Winterbottom at the moment. There's been about 7 or 8 drivers have actually taken their stop. And James Courtney is still our race leader, and still that margin sits at 1.12 seconds.
The drivers who took on 4 tyres so far in their stops: Todd Kelly, Coulthard, who you saw there a moment ago, Michael Caruso, the first to do it. Lowndes also did it at Red Bull Racing Australia. The most amount of fuel was taken on by Todd Kelly. We estimate about 15.4 seconds, that aspect or part of the stop, so around 56 litres of fuel.
It runs in at a rate of about 3.7 litres a second. So these are all the angles on Marcus Ambrose's car at the moment. So some of the key runners electing to use just a rear set of tyres in that stop, and they'll change all 4 later, and they spend less time standing still and less time for opportunities for mistakes. So Dick Johnson in conversation with Roger Penske in there at the moment, so they'll be reasonably comfortable with where their man is at the moment. Big gain on yesterday. Quick in the first and second sectors on this lap, Marcus Ambrose. So he's got Rick Kelly in front of him and Jason Bright just behind him at the moment. And I think they just called Jason in on screen there. So I expect to see Team BAC entry in shortly. Yes. We're also going to see David Wall in on this lap as well, from 15th in the second of the Volvo entries.
About a 15-second stop here. Like you hold your foot on the brake during the stop, please.
So it's fuel that's the determinant. Meantime, in the first sector on the racetrack, the fastest man out there at the moment, the fastest of the entire race so far, is Fabian Coulthard, and Tim Blanchard has just got a curb strike.
Go.
Coulthard settled in on that cold rubber very comfortably, has already got some good sectors and times popping up by the looks of it. He's down in 16th position.
They also did a front shock absorber adjustment on Jason Bright's car then I've interpreted that correctly. So we'll just see whether or not that's improved the behaviour of this car.
You guys just watching Jason Bright there, you're absolutely right there, Neil. They got underneath the front of that car when the wheels were off and made a small adjustment to the damper. Obviously, we don't know what that was, but making some changes on the run, just trying to tune that car up for JB so he can move forward.
And it's a really important point. And as you know, some of that adjustability in the cars is not really present as it once was. And so you've got to try and find every trick in the book to try and find a way to trim to the day. Now, Van Gisbergen has gone quick in Sector 3 on that last lap. Rick Kelly's punching along nicely here as well. Tim Blanchard, cool drive entry, car 3. Will Davison's in as well.
Spoke with Barry Hay at this outfit yesterday, team manager there. Now he's come in for the 2015 season to work with the LD Motorsport crew. Engine was down on power in practice, and they thought it was a problem internally. They changed it. It didn't fix the problem. They were still 9 k's an hour down on the straight. They had a closer look in the last 48 hours or so and found an issue with the exhaust. They've replaced the exhaust, and Blanchard is much more comfortable. What a weekend for Will Davison.
It's been horrible. 2 did not finish results against his name yesterday, and this is very, very frustrating. Courtney, Whincup, 1.6 seconds. In fact, it just, as I spoke, jumped out to 1.8 in one of the sectors. So just managed to grab an extra couple of metres, James Courtney. And then Scotty McLaughlin in position number 3, followed by Shane Van Gisbergen and James Moffat. That's your top 5. This gives you a bit of an indication as to how this racetrack is laid out in amongst the Adelaide parkland. So between turns 3 and turn 9, it's the streets, the city streets of metropolitan Adelaide, and then from turn 9 all the way back through onto the pit straight is actually permanent racetrack. It's a beautiful precinct. It's been a very popular racing venue for a long period of time, and it's just on the eastern side of the Adelaide CBD, and it's surrounded by cafes and pubs and restaurants. It's a fantastic vibe here in Adelaide.
We'd love to have you as a part of the conversation too, as a part of the race. We know you love the sport, you live the race. Hashtag V8SC. Fire in some questions. The race will be busy. We'll endeavour to answer a couple as we go. Let's jump aboard here for a full lap with the pole sitter, James Courtney.
Okay, tyres are done, screen looks good, intake looks good, we're just going to hold for fuel. Should have a clear exit. We're just going to hold for fuel, mate. Should be too much longer. Still holding. Still holding. Still holding. You're clear, you're clear.
Even the simple things that tend to be taken for granted, just arriving in the pit lane, engaging the pit lane speed limiter, managing the stop and then departing, releasing the limiter in the appropriate way, and all of the things affiliated with the stop, all of that is different for Marcus now too, compared to where he's been and what he's been doing for the last 9 years in NASCAR. Great to spend a moment with James Courtney there. Gives you a real good indication of what this racetrack is all about and how little rest the driver gets around here. 2.3 seconds is the margin between Courtney and Whincup, and everybody from position 1 to 9 has not yet stopped, and beyond that they've all taken a stop, and it varies in their stationary time and how many tyres they've taken on board.
Well, Davison, your weekend unfortunately goes from bad to worse and you find yourself in the garage once again.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Yeah, it sounds like the engine's dropped onto 7 cylinders, so we're having a pretty reasonable start. Yeah, I'm just shattered for the guys. You know, they've worked hard, and all our sponsors, Solar Australia and Doric, on the car this year. And not the best start, three mechanical issues in 3 races, but just got to thank everyone. They're working really hard, and we'll definitely bounce back bigger and better.
Bad luck, Will. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, ignition issues for him yesterday. We saw the car retire, then this today. That is, they've got stuff in the pipeline that can't come quick enough, I guess, for him.
And a clutch problem. The things that are in the pipeline are development. They've actually got reliability issues that are going on there at the moment, so that's very frustrating. Now, there's a nice little battle unfolding on the left of screen there at the moment. You can see on the right of screen the different perspectives involved in it. So it's a battle between McLaughlin and Van Gisbergen. So these guys are running longer at the moment. Car 3, Tim Blanchard's going to be shown the bad sportsmanship flag as well for overuse of the turn 2 curbing. He's currently running in 24th place in the Holden. No, he's not. He's one of 2 drivers in double digits. David Reynolds has got 2 strikes as well, and about half a dozen others have had single strikes.
So we'll get the slide rule out with Neil at some point and talk about what may be unfolding here from a strategic point of view. You talked about the target being lap 38 in some respects, but if we get a safety car in between, that can really change things, can't it?
Well, they're all hedging at the moment, trying to figure out what the future looks like. Good luck sorting that out. But this is a good battle here between these guys, and it's been a good, solid, steady run here for Van Gisbergen. And not a foot wrong so far for McLaughlin after yesterday's difficulties as well.
Yeah, McLaughlin's keen to erase those, isn't he? That oil pump issue, and then the jump start. But so far, McLaughlin has erased yesterday, and in the top 3 at present. It's a good start for one of the real heroes, one of the people's favourites last year. Van Gisbergen into the lane, and car 1 as well, Jamie Whincup.
Shane was very lucky to get that car stopped then. You can see from the chopper shot, but he was all locked up.
3, 2, 1, that's it. 4 tyres.
See how they fare. Whincup on the left, Van Gisbergen on the right. Courtney still leads. Moves McLaughlin to second.
Clear. Pit lane's clear for now, mate. 4 seconds, 3 seconds, we should be good. Clear. 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 All clear.
So both Red Bull Racing Australia entries taking 4 tyres at their stop. Whincup took 4, so did Craig Lowndes as he rejoins.
Whincup made a bit of ground there. That can also be to do with how much fuel was taken on. And Van Gisbergen's fed straight back out on top of Lowndes here, so he's got cold tyres and Craig's at full race temp. Wants to try and round him up on the outside at 4, but you end up in no man's land on the exit of the corner. And see what Shane's doing at the moment. He's just cleverly positioning the car to just make sure that it's awkward for Craig. He knows all the spots that you can pass. He's just making sure that he's got a tonne and a half in the way when he wants to execute that move.
Buying a little bit of time, get those tyres up to temperature. Great view from on board this year. Inboard, look, this is the replay of what you were talking about.
It was the audio that alerted to me to begin with. I saw it sliding around here. Been 1 or 2 drivers over the years have managed to hook themselves up in that outside fence. So he's got McLaughlin in from position 2. James Moffat's come in as well. A little bit of debris just hooked up in the front of that car as well. A few leaves.
This might be a test for the 99 too, Neil, if there's any damage as a result of that turn 8 incident in the early lap. Hopefully Moffat's car is okay. It rejoins. McLaughlin feeds back out. He'll feed back out behind Lowndes, ahead of Holsworth. Then it's Slade. Looks like Moffat will slot in just behind Slade around Rick Kelly. Greg?
Yeah, fellas, we're just taking a little sneaky look at Alistair McVeighn's shoulder here, looking at the times that James Courtney's been putting out. The last 12, 14 laps have all been within just a couple of tenths. That one there was actually the slowest. It might have had a little issue. But he's very, very consistent at the moment, and that's what's obviously been giving him that ability to get away from Jamie Whincup just that little bit. But the speed he's showing at the moment, looking good. I think they might be preparing fairly soon for that first stop, though.
Yeah, but they don't want to get undercut, do they, Murph? So now that Jamie's gone on to a new tyre, they'll have to keep an eye on James' speed relative to Jamie's, because you might just lose that cushion. Van Gisbergen's also quick on the sector splits here at the moment. So everybody in the field, bar James Courtney and Chaz Mostert, have actually taken their first stop now, Rihanna.
Yeah, and just to quickly add, they boys did do a ride height adjustment on Scott McLaughlin's car during his pit stop.
A bit of work going on, important work going on during the stops. We saw a similar thing, we believe, for Jason Bright, or at least tweaks to the suspension of some sort here as we take a look at car one, the tyre bundle to the right of your screen. Jamie gives it a whack.
That's a big one. That's probably a little bit too hungry down there at turn one, because it's really easy to dislodge that bumper and guard and stick it on top of the tyre, or for the car to trip over the curbing so much that you launch across the top of the curb at turn two and get a curb strike like Dale Woods just got. I wonder what they did ride height-wise with Scotty McLaughlin's car, whether it was front or rear, and whether they went up or down, because it'll just give us a bit of an indication as to what it is they're trying to cure in that car. So we've seen Bright make an adjustment to dampers, and now Scott McLaughlin a little ride height tweak as they all try and figure out ways to get around the pace issue. Sometimes it's worth sacrificing another second or two stationary to make an improvement, rather than put up with an ill in the car for the duration of the run. Now, fastest lap so far has been achieved by Shane Van Gisbergen as Bright skates down the inside of Michael Caruso, and skate was operative there because he was literally sliding in the mid-corner there, Jason Bright. And I think Michael was so punch-drunk after yesterday, he could have driven a school bus down the inside. There was so much space there.
That's where, of course, he was involved in that incident. We're talking about Michael Caruso with David Reynolds, and that resulted in a penalty for Caruso. Championship points terms, he actually comes into this race -4 negative after 2 races in the championship so far. But the 23 after that big rebuild, currently in 15th position. Bright now ahead, 14th.
And the guys that have shown the best peak speed so far have actually been James Courtney and Shane Van Gisbergen. And here's James now into the lane, and just like Shane, who he's having a battle with, he was fully lit up.
Swing it in underneath the Super Chief boom. Stop on me. Give your rear tyres and fuel. You're all clear. All clear. Swing your in now. Stop on me. Stop on me. Yeah, alright. Good, mate. There's the drops. You're right to go. There's no one in pit lane, so you're all clear, mate. All clear. There's the drops. Still clear. Still clear. Waiting on the fuel. Waiting on the fuel. All clear, go, go, go.
So they've done rears only. So we'll keep an eye on where Whincup is. Just must be pretty confident in the balance of the car. There's Jamie in the background. And I just wonder whether or not, because Jamie did all 4, didn't he? Whether or not James will be at a grip deficiency as this segment of the race wears on. We'll keep a very close eye on that. So Whincup came in on lap 17, grabbed 4 tyres, stationary for 15.2 seconds, grabbed 55 litres of fuel. So we're on lap 22. James Courtney's just done his stop, 2 rear tyres, and we'll do the calc shortly on the fuel.
Van Gisbergen here putting pressure on Fabian Coulthard, fellow Kiwi. That's for 6th position. Ahead of them, Garth Tander and Mark Winterbottom. Winterbottom sits in 4th. Chaz Mostert heads the field in car 6.
Just intercepted a radio message from Ash Walsh saying that he's got a misfire as well in car 4, the Erebus entry. Ooh, Shane Van Gisbergen actually had to dive to the left a little bit there because he had the rear brakes locked behind Fabian. There's a couple of things happening there. There's a lot of aero disturbance in the front of his car, and he's also ingesting all the stinking hot air from the preceding vehicle as well, which hurts the front brakes on Shane's car, which makes the rears, in relative terms, more lively. But you can tell that he's got good pace and he's using it at the moment. Fastest lap of the race for Van Gisbergen. Looks like he's actually got better traction.
They only got rear, so you've got better front grip. Make use of it.
Yeah, so they're just giving him a hurry up at the moment, Shane Van Gisbergen. So he does definitely have a little pace edge over Fabian, and there he goes down the inside at turn 4. Fabian actually didn't bother to put up too much resistance, and again, sometimes just better to let it resolve itself at this point in the race rather than get into a fight to the death and end up with car damage by blocking too aggressively.
And the Techno guys were pretty confident when they brought that car out of the transporter here in Adelaide. It was a really good baseline. They've had a fantastic start to the weekend and a terrific qualifying today. Record pace in qualifying as we go to Rihanna.
Yeah, sorry boys, just to be a bit more specific there on Scotty McLaughlin's car, they actually went down on ride height because his car was a little bit oversteering. And just as we focus on David Wall here, saw David earlier in the weekend, he's actually got some superficial burns on his feet that he suffered earlier in the weekend here. He thinks that because he's so tall in this car, that's why he was getting the burns on his feet. So they've actually had to adjust his pedals in the car and the way he sits due to his height in this Volvo. And he's been getting treated by our medical officer, Dr. Carl, throughout the weekend. He got some injections yesterday, and he said they only lasted midway through yesterday's race, so he's certainly going to suffer in today's race.
So this is the car that I spoke about a few moments ago. Ash Walsh said there's been a misfire drama with this vehicle. Yeah, I spent a moment with David Wall earlier, a little function with Scott McLaughlin, and he said, I've been getting Dr. Carl to give me some injections, and Scotty said, what are they? Should I get some too? But it's very awkward when you burn your feet because the pedal boxes in the car are so hot, and that happened yesterday.
Meantime, his teammate doing a good job here. At the front of the field is Mostert from Courtney and Whincup. Here's the 4 entry, and it's come to a stop for Ash Walsh. Correction, that onboard I think a moment ago was David Wall.
Safety car boards and flag, safety car boards and flag, scramble, safety car scramble.
So you can hear Tim Schenken, race director there, as we go to Greg in the pit lane.
Yeah, switched off. He switched it off?
No, he switched off.
Right, Madison, we're just looking at Ash Walsh pulled up there on the straight. He was up the escape road there for a minute. What information has he been able to pass on so far to you guys back here in the pit?
All we can tell you at the moment is he was suffering some electrical issues. Said his dash was giving some intermittent signals. Obviously now he's stationary on track, so it's unfolding as we speak.
You guys have had an incredibly tough weekend so far with Davo's car having the problems. Walsh had a great run yesterday to finish inside the 10, but this is a true disaster for you guys.
We'll see what we can salvage.
Good luck.
Thanks.
So Garth Tander is in the lane. It's getting busy here as well. The 47, given that we have safety car conditions, 47 will have to wait here with Lee Holdsworth already in for Walkinshaw.
Yeah, so these guys are going to a 3-stop. So squeezing some fuel in now. The reason they're doing it, they'll sacrifice a bit of track position, but it means that they can fill and stand still for a shorter time once they get to the critical lap and beyond it later in the race. So they'll take a little bit of pain now. It's relatively small, and they might get a gain a bit later. And it works particularly well if you just down the order a bit. You can play the gamble.
Quite a long one there for Slade. The 111 is in as well. The Super Black Racing entry of Andre Heimgartner. There's Ash Walsh. Did a terrific job in the Dunlop Series. Got the call up to join this team toward the end of last year. Finished in the top 10 yesterday, which they were really impressed with. But of course was hit with a bit of a penalty post-race after contact with Dale Wood at turn 4. Mostert's in as well. He was the race leader. Potential double stacking here. Now his teammates in the lane as well. Mark Winterbottom, will he get out in time? So there is a bit of a double stack as we wait. So long stops for both Slade and for Mostert. Winterbottom finally gets service now.
Coming down the front straight. Sorry, mate, I fucked that up big time.
Apologies for the language there. We obviously can't do anything about that. It is a competitive scenario, and Big stakes here. It's a very important race. You win today, you are the winner overall of the Clipsal 500 in 2015. James Courtney led the last 21 laps of last year's Sunday race to take the victory today. Of course, he led the first 20. But we're under safety car with that issue for the E63 AMG of Ash Walsh. Lexus RCF safety car on track. So the field bunches up. Some have taken service under safety car here, taken advantage of that with the stricken car of Ash Walsh out on circuit.
So a few people grabbing the opportunity to turn this into a three-stop. What's Shane up to? He's mucking around with something in or around the cool suit area, I think, and he can spot himself on the big screen. G'day, Shane. Can't talk to him, but we can wave back, well, from the commentary box. So he's had a good run so far, good pace. Been able to set the fastest lap of the race.
To the numbers cruiser scan, please. To the numbers cruiser check lane.
I asked him, so there is the...
Was it a drink issue to the left here or something?
Well, I didn't actually see what he was trying to... I suspect that it was the lid on the cool box. Sometimes if they don't fasten properly, you can just see a bit of spillage while you're running around. Maybe he's just trying to clip it up again, because they often restock them in the stops, but obviously didn't get to see the detail during his stop. But just going back to the remark that there's a few people who are going to switch to three stops here to play a little strategic game, sacrifice some track position in this queue of cars. We still haven't reached the critical lap from which you can get home on a tank of fuel, but what that'll mean for those that have done that, they'll stand still for longer to return the cars to full, sorry, shorter, you idiot. It'll be a quicker stop, and then that'll get them home cleanly. And that'll just all of a sudden make them look like they come from nowhere when all this gets sorted out at the back end. Wow, what a weekend for Erebus Motorsport. And all that margin that James Courtney enjoyed has all gone now. It's all been peeled back, and that means that he's a bit vulnerable now to Whincup. Remember, Whincup's got 4 fresher tyres than James, who only changed the rears.
If you're a Marcus Ambrose fan, he's just outside the top 10 in the 17. It was a good start by James Courtney, but you could see that there was a few of them that launched off the line. Rick Kelly out in the grass. Jamie Whincup was trying to find track position as well. Look at them coming through the centre chicane for the first time, and this was an interesting one. Tander just brushed it. The mirror goes, but it was even more of an impact for the 99 of James Moffat. The slow-mo really accentuates it.
Yeah, that's happened several times now this weekend. This was the run between Garth Tander and the Holden Racing Team entry and Shane Van Gisbergen. Garth attempted to try and cover because of the poor exit off turn 7. That didn't work, and Shane was able to march by. Shane's making good pace. His consistency is good at the moment. His peak speed is also very good. James Courtney has been the dominant force so far, and he's in a good arm wrestle with Jamie Whincup, who clobbered those tyres down at turn 1. Marcus Ambrose having a very strong run, as is Scotty McLaughlin. And here is Van Gisbergen just marching up on Fabian Coulthard at the end of Wakefield Street, turn 4. Did that pretty easily. Hallam and his gang just sitting there, just trying to figure it all out at the moment. They're in a nice position. Now, the first of those that's actually already done a second stop is Garth Tander, and that's the replay of Shane's. He's actually loosened off his belts there to have a fiddle with what I think is just the lid on the cool box, which is part of the cool suit apparatus, and also blows the cool air into his helmet. There's the city of Adelaide, looking out towards the west. You can just see how close this racetrack is to the heart of Adelaide, which is one of the reasons why it's so popular.
So we're all bunched up. We want to go racing once again. The officials doing a very good job here. 2 rear tyres for Tander when he stopped on lap 24. Took on 53 litres of fuel, a stop of about 14 seconds. By contrast, some of those other longer stops you saw in the lane, Mark Winterbottom, 30.7 seconds. So approximately 112 litres of fuel
I'm just scanning the list at the moment of those that we just need to keep an eye on for a little bit later in the game, Greg. So it includes Garth Tander, Lee Holdsworth, Todd Kelly, Mark Winterbottom, Michael Caruso, Nick Percat, Tim Slade. They've all come in and done that second stop. Slipped down the queue ever so slightly. There's Chaz Mostert. It was a bit grumpy on the radio before for some reason. Don't know why he wasn't happy, but we need to blank the screens while these guys are all driving around at the moment. Because we talk up their stocks about focus, and the first thing they do is watch themselves on television and wave back to us. Jason Bright.
He may be the oldest guy in the field now, Neil, but they are really happy in this organisation now with the engineering restructure. And do they feel like they've made, as a result of what we saw yesterday, that whole setup now is gelling, that it's working?
Brad was really excited pre-season that he thought that he'd made the right moves, putting the right people in the right job. Yesterday proved that, and the cars have been competitive all weekend. They started pretty well last year and have done in recent years. So it was the back end of the season that caught them last year. Incidentally, it's a happy birthday to Jason Bright next Saturday as the elder statesman of the field. He's done an awful lot of V8 supercar racing very successfully over a long period of time.
And more, competing in the United States, of course. Indy Lights had that run in IndyCar on the Gold Coast at around the turn of the century. And then, of course, back in V8 supercar with a variety of different teams. Been with Brad Jones Racing for a number of years now. Lexus came on board, of course, as safety car supplier for the 2015 season, also the medical car as well. And that vehicle you see at the front of the field is the RCF, the new Grand Tourer, launched at Bathurst just a few weeks ago. Look at that as the camera pans and tilts around. You can see the crowd in the grandstand. They've been treated to some fantastic motorsport here over the weekend. Whoa. They really get into this event. Between
Marcus weaving his tyres and us spinning the camera, it's a big afternoon to everybody with vertigo. Great crowd in attendance here again this weekend. It's been just a little bit quieter in the first phase of this race than I thought it might have been. Once you say that, you can pretty much rock solid guarantee that it won't be in the latter part.
Were you anticipating that based on some of the stuff we saw yesterday, that it might amp up?
Second race, the boys all took hippie pills and away they went.
So we're hoping for a restart very soon here. James Courtney leads the field from Jamie Whincup. It'll be frantic once we get going again. Everyone all bunched up.
Safety car lights out, safety car accelerate away from the field.
That's the call that we've been wanting to hear from race director Tim Schenken to get back to racing. That car belonging to Ash Walsh has been cleared from Erebus Motorsport after their misfire issue. Here's the guy that leads the field, James Courtney. Been a dominant run so far this afternoon, and he was a little bit down in the mouth yesterday when they had to take some parts off this car. I wasn't sure that they were going to be in a position to be able to fight, but they well and truly are. They seem to be able to match the pace of Red Bull at the moment. That's your top three on boards. Courtney, Whincup, Van Gisbergen, covered from every angle.
When Van Gisbergen retightened the belts there before, obviously tricky and important to, you know, with the Hans device, to get that right, to get comfortable as a driver. Murph?
You guys just talking about those guys that have switched to that three-stopped strategy. Obviously, it changes their lay of the land big time, but also puts them way back in the pack, Cromley.
Yeah.
And you know what often that means? Guys that are fast trying to come through, as James Courtney puts the foot down early and leads them to the restart.
Yeah, it's a good point, Greg. That's the risk, because it puts you in the traffic and then raises the temperature and the aggravation levels can go up. We're starting all over again now for the Clipsal 500 run this afternoon, race 3 of the Championship Series, and a curb strike for Whincup. He didn't need that. He's trying to cover. He actually had the car sliding quite a bit through the final corner and down into turn 1, trying to defend from Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane's going to try and jump him here while Jamie's sliding about as those tyres have all cooled out. Remember, trying to keep temperature and pressure in the tyres is really vital. Brakes have cooled out as well, so your brake balance can be a little bit weird. The engineers will have been on the radio urging the drivers, come on mate, work them harder, try and bring those rears up. The The fronts are reasonably easy to heat. Good initial pace here from James. It was that way at the start of the race as well. He's jumping away quickly.
Great job on that restart, you're right. Here's a move, or a look at least. Keeping that pressure on the 34, that's Chaz Mostert. David Reynolds right behind him in 14th position. Courtney with about a car length. Just a fraction, as you can see from the lead at the bottom left of your screen there. Ambrose. It's been a really tidy start to this race from him. Everything going touch wood like clockwork in the 17.
So Courtney's already reduced the pressure here, and that's interesting because Jamie took 4 tyres in that last stop and James only took 2. And just by having those extra couple of car lengths now heading into this lap, he can just relax to get back into finding his rhythm. The man that's busy at the moment is actually this man on screen, Chaz Mostert, down the inside of David Wall.
Tander looks like he's hungry to make a move here as well, and so's Lee Holdsworth. So David Wall a little bit vulnerable. Mostert's away. Behind all those guys, Todd Kelly, Michael Caruso. Here's the 33. Having a look at the 14, McLaughlin. Oh, close. Down at 9. Not enough. Fabian Coulthard retains the position, and that is for 4th place. Talking about curb strikes before too, Neil. Tim Blanchard most so far with 3 hops, but a couple of people have 2 to their name, including David Reynolds and I think Dale Wood. Here's a move. Reynolds here in good battle with Tander.
Sorry, Greg, I've just been AWOL in fuel calculation land and just thinking about what this means. So Mostert's actually reasonably well positioned at the moment because ran long, stopped on lap 25, took a big gulp of fuel, brought on about 100 litres of fuel into that car, but he's actually got reasonable track position, so the safety cars helped that cause. His teammate Mark Winterbottom, remember he stopped on lap 1 and then he stopped again to move to a 3-stop strategy in car number 5. He's actually a little bit further down the order, but they're both in reasonable shape. Oh man, no. Big problem there for Lee Holdsworth. I could see it coming. He went wide, understeered straight into the fence, has struck it hard, and that'll be a lot of damage on that car. Hopefully he can just limp home, but I doubt whether he'll survive that one. Broken front left suspension on that car. It's remarkable that the damage is visibly as little as it is.
It brings to an end what's been a very solid weekend. He can't even turn it, can't get it through. Such is the damage. Been really consistent, had such high hopes with this outfit. Charlie Schwerkolt, there he is, has been smiling all weekend. First time we've seen him like this.
I'm driving it back to the piers. Got, I don't know whether the damage is in the front left, I think, so I don't think there's too much damage in the rear. I'm not sure. See what we can do. Stay in the car.
Recently took him back to its first win in the championship as well.
Here it is again in replay. He was well wide of the line and there was just no way he could redeem that.
Safety car boards and flags, safety car scramble, leader is car 22.
So out in the grey line, no grip. Started with being up very high from where he turned in, and then the car slid and then basically just understeered into the wall. I could see it coming. And actually the Volvo, the Nissan behind him kind of looked at it as well. So they're sorting the wall out at turn 8. That's the reason for the safety car deployment. It's gone in at an awkward angle. It's the front left that's the issue. They will do an inspection, obviously, under the rear of the car as well. That was a pretty big scare also for Todd Kelly in the number 7 entry.
So the 22 in, James Courtney. And again, with that safety car, we have a very, very busy pit lane. Reynolds as well.
Critical lap of this race to get home from full fuel is lap 38. They're on lap 34 at the moment, and they'll be gambling. This is the same old story. They'll be gambling on how long the safety car's out there, how long it takes to sort out this wall issue, and then it's going to take quite a little bit of work on the calculator here at the moment to see how this is all going to play out for all of those. But it's going to be tight for some to be able to get through. But some of them are going to probably try and see whether they can sneak through from here.
It's a bit of fingers crossed, a bit of hoping we can
More
get to
than fingers crossed.
that critical number. Could make for a really exciting finish to this race based on that.
You sort of get a lap back for every lap that you do with the safety car, so your fuel consumption drops significantly.
There you can see the wall and the damage to it as a result of Lee Holdsworth's crash. The 18 is out of the game after what's been a very good start to him to the 2015 season. Work continuing here. We'll update you on who's done what as far as the pit stops are concerned as well, in terms of tyres and fuel taken on board. Shane van Gisbergen in the 97 behind the safety car. Let's go to Murph in the lane.
You guys just catching up with Ash Walsh. Disappointing finish there, mate. What happened to the car?
Just started to develop a bit of a misfire there. From pretty early on, I had the dash starting to come in and out intermittently. Then developed into a misfire. So unfortunately, it actually claimed the race for me. Nothing we could really do about it. So unfortunate way to end the weekend. I feel like it's been a pretty good, successful one. So yeah, hard luck for the boys who have put a lot of effort in and given me a good car all weekend.
Yeah, it was a good result yesterday, mate, finishing 8th, unfortunately, at DNF today.
Yeah, it's the way it goes. So it's all right. We'll be back at the AGP and see how we go.
Good on you, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.
So just going back to that remark about safety car fuel consumption, when the pace is hot, the expectation is that you burn about 2.9 to 3 litres of United E85 per lap. In these conditions out there now, tucked up behind the Lexus RCF, that number should drop back to about 1.3 litres per lap. And there'll be some who've
resolved this issue.
Some who've ticked off the 140 litre fuel requirement, but whether they can get back from here. In fact, I just heard in the background the voice of race director Tim Schenken saying they've resolved the issue with the concrete blocks there. That's probably not what some people want to hear. They need a longer clean-up period for it to work in their favour.
Will we see a finish like Phillip Island last year, where Tander was shaking that HRT Commodore trying to get it to the line, and McLaughlin was able to snatch victory right at the very end? People could be maybe in a difficult situation here, but we've got a long way to go, and who knows what will happen in terms of if we are confronted with more safety cars. So tough for Holdsworth. He was pumped about 2015 and making a strong start in partnership with this guy under the Walkinshaw banner now. Charlie Schwerkold, of course, was running in the Pro Drive Racing Australia umbrella, and we see the work now being done to the 18 in the Walkinshaw pit. Sister car of Tim Slade sits 13th. And the other cars, of course, those HRT entries, Garth Tander in 9th, and the 22 of James Courtney 15th. Stopped on lap 33. That second stop, 4 tyres. 59 litres of fuel for him.
Lights out, accelerate away from the field car, 97 to whole speed.
So we're good to go. It's been a fast clean-up here by the officials, and that will make for a very interesting scenario at the end of this race now. For those that took advantage of it and pitted for some fuel, can they stretch it? Can they get to the end of the race? Safety car about to head off. Van Gisbergen will control them. And Shane will set the pace here. He will get this race underway. Safety car's already bolted. It's about to enter the lane. In the hands of the Kiwis, the 3 of them. Fabian buoyed by that win in the cricket yesterday by the Kiwis over the Aussies.
Safety cars in pit lane, safety cars in pit lane.
Look at the needle here. He's right on him, Fabian Coulthard. Like a menacing shark right behind the rear bumper. Trying to get his revs just right in first gear. And away he goes. He got a nice little jump there, Shane van Gisbergen.
Launched it off the turn beautifully, didn't he? They bounce, they fly. Many of them have done that over the weekend through the centre chicane, including Todd Kelly. Big air yesterday for him in the 7. Down the inside, Marcus Ambrose makes the move, tries to put the move on Dale Wood. Does he get it done? Wood hangs on to it in car 21 there. Ambrose was terrific on the restarts yesterday. Picked up a couple of spots and was strong at the start of those 2 shorter races in our Super Street format here at the Clipsal 500. Back to the front.
So they get a little fuel consumption reprieve from that safety car where they're burning just about 1.2, 1.3 litres per lap. Slightly awkward timing for that safety car. They never seem to drop at just the ideal moment. And down the inside here, big move for Chaz Mostert on Marcus Ambrose at turn 9. This gets awkward when they try and run side by side through 10. Ambrose has got the line. Oh dear, Mostert was out very high and wide on the wrong side of Garth Tander there. But all sorted out.
Frosty's in the mix there as well. And in behind him, Todd Kelly. The tail of that group, Tim Slade, Michael Caruso's in the mix there too. Jason Bright and Dale Wood 5th and 6th, but here's the 97 leading the way.
And Gisbergen's got good pace here. He's just skipping away. Giving himself the fresh air that he needs to just find a rhythm. And then it's a question of who he's racing, because the strategists have now split up and down the field in a range of ways. So he's got that cushion over Fabian Coulthard. Then it's McLaughlin, then Lowndes, then Bright, then Dale Wood. Dale's in 6th, then Marcus Ambrose, Chaz Mostert, Garth Tander, Mark Winterbottom. And Mark Winterbottom and Garth Tander are the first couple of guys in the field that have actually pitted on 2 occasions. Everybody above that, so that is positions 1 through 8, Van Gisbergen down to Ambrose. They've all just pitted the ones.
Love the way the cars ride through there. Gap back to Bright. Ambrose holding off Mostert. So we jump on board the other Pepsi Max crew entry of Mark Winterbottom, chasing Tander in 9th position. Garth was frustrated in the early part of the weekend. They just felt like they've got to qualify better. But Sunday's been good for them, and he raced well yesterday too. They know they've got good race cars. Excellent pole from his teammate James Courtney today.
We jumped the gun on suggesting that there may be some that have been able to grab enough fuel. I mean, they're not going to get back from this position now anyway, but we've got a bit of false information there. So, as you were on that one, but we still need to get out of this critical lap and see how all this plays out. Van Gisbergen's the leader over Coulthard and McLaughlin. First of the 2 stoppers is Tander. And then Winterbottom in behind him. And Chaz is well positioned here strategically. Let's go back into the lane with Rihanna.
Lee Holdsworth, we've seen that happen so many times, but it never gets any easier to watch.
No, it certainly doesn't. It's a real shame. We had a really good car following Tander there, so just one of those things, you know. It's a new car, new team, probably not familiar with everything at the moment, so made a few mistakes over the weekend, but you know, once we get this thing sorted for me, we've got a quick race car, so we'll get this Brooks car back up the front.
Plenty of pace in the car. The guys working pretty hard to get back out there.
Yeah, it's such a big race. You've got to try and score some points, and you know, any points we can grab is a bonus. So they're working pretty hard. See how we go.
Bad luck, Lee.
Thank you.
Like Dale Wood had a bit of a wild ride through 8 a couple of laps ago, but he's fending off, holding off Ambrose here. We ride with Marcus now.
And McLaughlin's just been instructed to pit this lap. There's been some conversation going on with James Courtney as well. James finds himself in a bit of a battle pack there at the moment. We're riding with Marcus Ambrose. The Nissans are doing battle down at turn 9.
That was 4th position. James getting around Michael Caruso by the looks of it for 13th place.
Car's doing a battery change.
Did I hear them say they're doing a battery change?
Sounded like it. Get our guys onto that. And he shuts the engine down.
Okay, so that's a major drama.
What a weekend for... He's shaking his head. Crowd favourite in some respects. He had a mega weekend here in 2014, the debut of that beautiful S60.
The battery to be hooked up. Okay, everyone's finished except for the battery.
It's very costly.
Pit lane's clear.
So for there to be a battery change, they must have an alternator problem, not charging at the moment. They'd be seeing it on their telemetry, so it's drawing down power out of the battery to keep itself alive, which means it's likely to happen again.
39 laps remaining in this race. Back with the guys up front.
So it's not a battery problem as such. The battery is the secondary part of the story. It's got some other issue electrically. And they've just dispatched, I can hear in my radio, Scott McLaughlin's now left the lane or leaving the lane.
James Courtney makes the move on Todd Kelly. There's contact between those two. Courtney will get through in behind Todd. Another of the family of Nissan entries. It's the 99 of James Moffat, who was fast today in qualifying. Disappointed in the shootout. Remember, he's had that slight brush, or more than a brush with the wall early on. Lap 1, Moffat. But again, he's been lucky. Like yesterday, it doesn't seem to have affected the car.
Been a bit Teflon, hasn't he? So this is James Courtney just forcing the issue up here at turn 4. Both parties were a little bit lucky to get away with that one. So contact made right in the mid-corner and Todd caught the slide. So near miss, and it doesn't look like there was any steering or any other related damage to that one for James Courtney. One of the FPR cars just peeling off from the train there as well. So we're past that critical point in the race now. It was Mark Winterbottom out of position number 9 that's come in. This is 3rd stop now for him. And remember, I said earlier that stopping for a little top up a bit early means that for this stop they stand still for a shorter period of time to bring on their United E85.
5th in race 1 yesterday, 11th in race 2, qualified 11th for this one today. Stablemate David Reynolds is in as well. He had a PB in qualifying for the Saturday races, one of them.
Gary Rogers, unfortunately, more heartbreak for young Scott McLaughlin, changing battery during that pit stop. Just talk us through what's happening there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've had this issue previously. We thought we're on top of it. We've had an alternator problem again now today. But, I mean, early on we had those issues. We worked our way through them. We thought we're over it, but we obviously aren't. So, just got to press on from here. There's not much more we can do at this point in time.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
I didn't hear all that cleanly then, but I think Gary was saying that they've got an alternator drama in the background, so that's a great frustration, and that means that you know, very unlikely that he gets through to the end of this race now on that battery that they've just installed at that car. We've got a whole bunch of people coming in the lane. I know Murph's down there with the ears on at the moment as well.
Yeah, guys, it's getting pretty feverish down here at Red Bull Racing. You should see the looks of some of these faces. They are trying to work out what is going to be the best strategy to win this race. And there's a lot of dialogue going on, a lot of guys moving around. Duddo is discussing with both Grant McPherson and here he comes now, actually. Whincup coming in for his final stop. A lot of chat and decision-making about this. Obviously, Craig Lowndes is on the two-stop strategy, and that is Whincup's third run through pit lane.
Yeah, the mid-sector of the race has got quite tricky to read as a result of people on completely different strategies there at the moment. Van Gisbergen's just staying out there, so's Coulthard. They're just ploughing on. Remember that for Shane, he came in on lap 17, stationary for about 16 seconds for a little over 55 litres of fuel or thereabouts, and they're now inside the window to be able to come in and refuel that car and get it home cleanly. Here he is, we're on board with him now through the final corner. Last lap through for Shane was a 1 minute 21.5, so still very good when you consider that his fastest lap was a 21.2, and that's the fastest lap of the race. So that's very, very good consistency for Van Gisbergen. Really impressive.
Whincup's taken 4 tyres in each of the stops so far as we look at Bright.
So what's going to happen here, there's going to be those that win and those that lose. Some are going to stand still for a shorter period of time to top up and get going and fill back up and get home. And there'll be others. Ooh, there's a lot of water leaking from Todd Kelly's car there as well, just off the feed pillar down the right-hand side of the car. And those that will take longer to get themselves serviced and out and about. It's a little under 3 seconds now, that margin, Van Gisbergen to Coulthard. All people peeling off, including Craig Lowndes. There he is, 1/3 of the way down the lane, and then there's quite a queue of cars after that, headed up by Marcus Ambrose, Chaz Mostert, James Courtney. This is a critical battle pack.
Let's see how Ambrose goes here. DJR Team Penske. Back of your screen there. James Courtney in.
Yeah, do re-tyres. Fuel. There's a drops right to go, mate. Go, go. 22 seconds now. 11 seconds left.
So,
looks like James got out ahead of Lowndes there.
Rear tyres for James, so I don't think they did all 4 then. And he didn't have very long to sit still.
Need to get an update on the 888.
Because of the 3-stop strategy, it shortens up the time that Courtney has to wait. Same with Mostert. Tander's just done the fastest lap of the race, by the way. He's punched a healthy number out there. It's a 1:21.1 as we focus on Marcus Ambrose. So that was the 2nd stop for Marcus Ambrose. So the first in the queue that's done 3 stops, actually, Nick Percat at the moment. And it's a box call now for Shane Van Gisbergen. So expect the race leader in on this lap in car number 97. And we'll see what they do at Freightliner Racing by way of response. So both Shane Van Gisbergen and Fabian Coulthard are about to take their second and final stops. Standard strategy play for these guys.
So Percat 6th on the road. Was with the Walkinshaw family up until the end of last year. Now with Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport in an X. There you go, going to be close. 222 that he's running is an X888 car, and he says we've been trying to get it to perform a bit more like what I was used to in the Walkinshaw family. Let's focus on this here.
Box.
Remember, he was right on the very limits as he tried to pull up the car in a previous pit stop in Van Gisbergen.
He's racing
We got you here.
Garth Tander at the moment. It sounded like there was a bit of panic in the background. Maybe he wasn't acknowledging the box, but here he is.
Beautiful. Well done, mate.
Hitting those marks is really important.
All right, flies right this side, Whitey. Andy, just make sure that's
All that heat soak can be a real drama for those brakes. One of those tear-off windscreen shields being removed just to clear up the vision.
So just make sure you got a gear when you drop. You'll be clear to go. Hold for fuel. You're clear.
Crowd today, 93,600. That's 285,000 total for the weekend here at the Clipsal 500, third highest attendance in the history of this event. Murph, we want to bring you in because I know you want to talk about perhaps the contrasting strategies here at Red Bull Racing Australia. Jamie Whincup, 3 stops.
Yeah, absolutely. It almost looks like to me that priority might have been given to Jamie's strategy there on the 3-stop. Craig Lowndes, obviously the 1-stop very early on the piece, had a lot of fuel to put in that car. He sat in pit lane, which seemed like an absolute eternity to fill that tank right to the brim. But it's put him back in the field a little bit more, and I reckon that 3-stop seems to have played out a little bit better right now, being those safety cars played such an important role.
Thanks, Murph. We go back to the Freightliner entry of Fabian Coulthard.
So they're just topping up dry ice on Fabian's car, which I think was what Van Gisbergen was fiddling around with before that lid, trying to re-secure it. So just trying to figure out how this is going to unfold. It's going to be a battle between Courtney, Winterbottom, Tander.
Hopefully he'll come out just around Reynolds, but ahead of them.
James Moffat is going to be in this, and Shane Van Gisbergen as well. It's all very interesting as it just sorts out at the moment.
So he rejoins ahead of Tim Slade in the background there. You can see Slade currently in 12th. Coulthard 11th on the road. Moffat in the 99 heads the field. We look at this battle here with Reynolds, the Pilatus entry of Todd Kelly, and then Jason Bright. Behind him is Craig Lowndes, looking menacing in the 888. Here's Bright looking down the inside of Kelly. Can he get it done? Kelly holds, tries to defend. Bright will now complete the mission. Good work. Lowndes got off the 2 pretty handy as well. Kelly's aware of that. He's awake up to it as they head to 8.
James Moffat has got to come back in here. He's leading the race at the moment, but he's still got to come back in, grab fuel. So he's turned it into a 3-stopper. Just try and sort all this out into a sort order. Then Rick Kelly, he's got to do the same. So he's only taken on about 120 litres of fuel so far, so he's got to come and get it sorted out. Nick Percat, trying to get to the bottom of him. It looks like he might be very close to being able to have brought on all his fuel. I'll put a question mark over him. But the best positioned... sorry, I'll just go back one step. Michael Caruso also needs to come in. He's currently in 4th position. He needs to take an additional stop. However, James Courtney is at the head of the next queue. So James Courtney, Mark Winterbottom and Garth Tander look as though they're in the box seat at the moment with James Moffat and Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yeah, fellas, I'm down here with Adrian Burgess. 2 very different strategies that you have played with your 2 drivers, and they've both ended up in the box seat as it looks currently with a handful of laps to go.
Yeah, thanks for that, mate. I hope that wasn't the kiss of death, but no, look, we hope so. We know
You hope he was. I hope it wasn't. Same here. Now look, we got 2 quick cars, 2 great drivers, 2 great engineers. We knew we had to split them early just to cover off the exposure. And look, touch wood, everything's going all right at the moment. We've got a long way to go though, so go away. Don't do a Rihanna on me, mate.
2 good cars with good pace at the moment too, and they've been consistent all the way through.
Yeah, look, the guys have done a good job all weekend. The cars are comfortable for them at the moment, but there's a long way to go yet, so not counting any chickens yet, mate.
Roger that.
Okay.
You saw Tander clear with bottom there before, up to 6th position. Just a lap ago. Jump aboard the Red Bull Racing Australia entry now. Chasing Jason Bright. It's Lowndes you're riding with.
Still a long way to go in this race. And remember that Moffat, Kelly, not sure on Percat, Caruso, they've got to come back in and get their fuel. Then Courtney in 5th, Tander 6th, Winterbottom 7th, Van Gisbergen 8th, Mostert 9th. Doing this on the run quickly at the moment, looking across many different columns. They look like they're okay. Here's a move. Bright out high and wide. Not much you could do about that one on Craig Lowndes, and he gave a bit of space. It was a good move by Craig. And good understanding on Jason's part just to make sure that they didn't end up making contact down at the hairpin.
Good lap from Courtney and from Tander last time around. Both of them into the 21s. Michael Caruso, 22.8 ahead of them as we go to the lane.
Scott Sinclair here in Nissan Motorsport. 3 of your guys sitting in a really nice position. Our calculations show they all need to come in for a bit more fuel, but how are you sitting on terms of fuel?
Yeah, we do need to come in again. I don't think we're going to get a downpour like Homebush. Yeah, that'll be very nice. 3 cars in the top 4, but I don't think that'll happen today. So, yeah, we've got to stop again. We think Rick and James will be coming out around 6th, 7th, and Michael will be a bit further down than that, but reasonable. But still one stop to come.
Thanks, Scotty.
Thank you.
Keep those questions coming too using the official hashtag V8SC. One here from Jacob Brown. Do you think it's a good or bad idea for these guys here, Van Gisbergen, the Techno crew, and DJR Team Penske to share the same pit boom? And I know that Neil was concerned about that yesterday, particularly as the season wore on, given the improvement of performance we've seen already today from Marcus getting into the shootout. He's down in 19th at the moment. Maybe that will be an issue as the season rolls on. Thanks for the question as we go to the lane.
Tim Edwards, really good job on strategy so far for this, but Mark Winterbottom for us, he looks like he's just having a few dramas here. Is there any issue at all? He's just dropping back a couple of spots.
Yeah, I think he's just struggling for a little bit of pace at the moment. Chaz is definitely a bit racier than Frosty at the moment, so he's not saying anything to us, so it's a bit hard to read too much into it.
How many tyres went on that car on the last stop?
No, the good tyres went on. We put 4 tyres on it, both cars. But yeah, he's just obviously struggling with the balance a little bit.
Chaz coming from a long way back. The boys, Adam DeBoer has done a very good job with that strategy. Obviously, safety cars playing it. You never know what's going to happen, but so far that car's looking in a good spot.
Yeah, look, he didn't qualify where he should have this morning, and we knew he was fast from yesterday, but there's a few things that weren't quite right after the big accident, and we sorted that out for the race, and he's got his mojo back.
Looking good.
Hope so.
He was pretty vocal, Tim, yesterday about the driving of Michael Caruso in that incident with David Reynolds at this point of the circuit down at turn 9. The word I think he used was incompetent. There was some fiery words from the lane yesterday with Gary Rogers angry about other people taking a stern view in relation to the pit lane penalty for Scott McLaughlin. You're riding with Marcus Ambrose here, chasing David Wall in the 34.
So Moffat blazing around at the moment with a margin of just under 2 seconds between himself and his teammate Rick Kelly. Then it's Nick Percat. We're really trying to do our best to crunch numbers on Nick at the moment. If the math is correct, he's actually taken on the fuel. He's reached the mandatory requirement of bringing on the 140 litres, but it's really line ball, and some of it involves interpolation, so you've got to be a little bit careful that you don't sell the house on it. Michael Caruso's next in the queue. He's position number 4. So all those guys, with the exception of Percat, so the 3 Nissans going to come back in and grab their fuel. Then it's James Courtney. Garth Tander, Shane Van Gisbergen, Mark Winterbottom. James Courtney's got all of his fuel. And there's 23 seconds between James and the race leader, James Courtney and the race leader, James Moffat, at the moment.
So to use your term, if for the 222 of Nick Percat, it would erase maybe some of the memories of last year for him, and this would be a David and Goliath performance if they can get a good result here. A lot of heart in the LD Motorsport team. Change of outfit for Percat this year as we watch the 888 entry of Craig Lowndes battling away there. Todd Kelly ahead of him, David Reynolds as well coming into that mix. Jason Bright, who looks pretty speedy there, doesn't he, through 11.
Okay, so they've reacted with Caruso now. He's in the lane.
Go.
There he is. And done.
We're going to come out into a bit of a battle pack here, mate.
That's not good news, but he'll have reasonable tyres to fight with when you hear you're going to emerge in the battle pack here. So Courtney's the first of the 3 stoppers, then Tander, his teammate. They're 4th and 5th on the road at the moment. Then Shane Van Gisbergen, he's in position 6, his 2-stop strategy.
Final thing I was going to say about Percat was if they do have a good result here, that's pretty promising for Barry Hay. Guy with loads of experience. He's come on board to be the team manager there this year. There he is, on cue. He was, let's go to Rihanna.
Right on cue, you must have heard us chatting. Barry Hay, team manager here at Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport. We want to have a chat about Nick Percat. He's sitting in a good position at the moment. Can he get home on fuel?
No, he's going to have to come in for tyres soon. It's going to be a real fast splash for fuel. So for the fuel we've got to put in, the pressure's now on the tyre guys to get it all done. So that's the limiting factor. We need to get in, smash him in and get him out in a hurry and just continue that position.
Pressure's on the boys. I'm sure they've been doing plenty of practice.
We've got a whole heap of new guys on the front wheels that have never done hot stops until they got to Adelaide. They've been practicing on the wall and they've been faultless. They've been absolutely on fire the whole time, so couldn't be happier.
It would be a great result for this new team and a great result for yourself in the first here at Adelaide.
There'd be big high fives and knuckles everywhere if we got it. Be real good. Okay.
Like Baz.
Thank you.
Jono Webb on board now as we look at the screen with Shane Van Gisbergen. Looks like he's just managed to get past Garth Tander. It's been a pretty hot race out there. The strategy's been the big one. You guys have gone for the 2-stop and stuck with it, and it's paying off at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worked really, really well. It's always going to be a little bit tough qualifying. For the shootout, it wasn't quite as far up as we wanted, but he's just had great speed. He's pushed on, and yeah, definitely the strategy's come to us at the moment.
There's no doubt about his speed, and with the amount of laps we got to go, around just over 20, we know that he is going to push very, very hard to catch JC out front.
Yeah, I was just looking there then. I think he almost pushed too hard, but knowing Shane, he'll keep pushing to the end. And JC's not that far down the road, and I think our tyres are probably about 8 or 10 laps better than his, so he'll come back to us towards the end.
Well, he always leaves us with some exciting racing and often some exciting finishes. So this could be the next one here for the Clips. Or JC obviously won last year. Shane looking to take it out on the Sunday, which he hasn't done before.
Yeah, I think he's pretty pumped. Had some good speed in the qualifying this morning. Good speed in the race, and look, he'll never let a raceman go. He'll push it to the end.
Absolutely. Good luck, mate.
Thank you.
A nice job from James Courtney this weekend, hasn't it? Here's the battle going on between Shane Van Gisbergen and Garth Tander, and Garth just dropped that left rear onto the grass down there. Just trying to push the car that little bit too far. The tiny little mistake like that just hurts you by a couple of seconds and burns you and you're gone.
Could be cool for Van Gisbergen, obviously. He'd love to do that here. And eyes, as Neil said yesterday, very much on this championship. Done a heap of driving in the off-season, but really wants to take the fight to Jamie Whincup in the title battle. He was second last year to Whincup. If it comes down to that again, he'd love to try and beat Whincup in 2015. But that's a long way off because this is a 14-round championship and Whincup's only just begun the title defence with one win yesterday. Work going on here to the Super Black Racing entry. Tony Lentino and the team helping to promote some young Kiwi drivers, give them an opportunity They did a great job at Bathurst last year. We had a question via Twitter before in relation to that car. Some of you love your car information. Someone asked, which car is it? It was the 2013 Charlie Schwerkolt racing car, being campaigned, of course, by Alex Davison and Jack Perkins last year.
It's a good run here in recovery also today by ProDrive and the Pepsi Max crew. So those guys line astern there at the moment, 7th and 8th. David Reynolds bagging it up off turn 6, and that's allowed Todd Kelly to get down the inside. They've been in a couple of battles together this weekend, and Lowndes is mixed up there as well. So these guys are in a battle that involves 12th, 13th, 14th. Is another view of that. Look at the amount of attitude that was on David's car as he came off 6. And whilst that's going on, Andre Heimgartner's on the radio, so I don't know what you're doing at the front of the car. It's something to do with the drivetrain. You need to get back up the other end of the car. So there's a bit going on down there at Super Black Racing at the moment. So who's got the tyre condition and the firepower at the end? Will there be further safety car interventions? Actually, quite warm out there at the moment, a little bit warmer than forecast, and a lot of sunlight on the road. Tyre information up from Dunlop. The track temp's now gone up to 41 degrees, bathed in sunlight, so that'll just be hurting the cars a little bit at the moment as well.
Lowndes going on with it here as he chases Todd Kelly. Kelly 12th. Moffat at the head of the field in the 99 from Rick Kelly. We did see a slow car at this point of the circuit off to the right-hand side before. Clearly that was Andre Heimgartner who's in the lane and concerned about it being driveline related. Van Gisbergen is right on James Courtney now. Tan has been piecing together some reasonable laps.
Let's see what sort of pace Van Gisbergen shows at the end of this lap as he ranges up onto the back of James Courtney. It's pretty critical, this one, because this is effectively the battle for the lead of the race. Now, what did he knock over there? 1 minute 21.1 for Van Gisbergen. It was a 21.25 for James Courtney, so 10th and a half, pretty valuable. So he's got the eyes on here at the moment. So for Van Gisbergen, last stop for him was lap number 46. For James Courtney, last stop was lap number 44. So similar situation in terms of tyres, but for Courtney, remember, they did 2 tyres in their first stop, 4 tyres in their second stop, and 2 rear tyres again in their third stop. So just wonder why there's a little speed discrepancy there at the moment, whether or not that's just hurting the HRT car on that 3-stop strategy. There's Alan Gow, James's manager, and James' wife, Karis, in conversation there at the back of the HRT garage. And meantime, there's the bunker at Techno Autosports as well. Jonathan Webb, who we spoke with before, and you can just see Steve Hallam there in the foreground.
James won the Sunday in 2014, would love to go back-to-back. Van Gisbergen knows what it takes to succeed here at the Clipsal 500 and has eyes on that Sunday victory. This is for the lead once it eventually all shakes out. So Van Gisbergen really keeping the pressure on James Courtney here.
Both of them caught virtually the same lap on that occasion. It was a 1 minute 21.8 for both Courtney and for Van Gisbergen. And I reckon that Shane does have a little grip edge going here at the moment that's working for him. Just a tiny little advantage.
Tander in behind these guys, so you can see him. His laps have been pretty reasonable as well. Then Mostert and Winterbottom, the 2 ProDrive Racing Australia entries. This is the 97. He has a look. He has a look. He gets it done too. That's for the lead. There's contact between them. So James recovers. Is the 97 damaged, or is he just redressed there?
Okay, nicely done, mate. Nicely done. Eyes forward. Get back into it. Let's see if we can pass him now. Eyes forward.
That was awkward, wasn't it? You can't afford to take your eyes off the screen at the moment. And you got Tander there as well, and he's ready to pick up crumbs. That was just a little bit on the last minute side. Sort of looked like he was having a go, and then all of a sudden he made that last little lunge, and then they locked horns down there. They can't afford that at Techno at the moment. They don't need to get involved in anything that damages the car, knocks the steering around. James was a bit lucky to survive that one, and I'm assuming, like you said, that actually it was actually partially because I think James may have also been struggling to pull up himself, and either that or he left some space. But yeah, I think that was redressed on the other side by Shane. But anyway, they're back in the order that they were. We reset and have another crack at that one.
It'll be on, that's for sure. Will I, won't I? I love that before from Van Gisbergen. This will be good.
When
and
all that's going on, though, you just worry about what's going on with steering arms and what the implications are. Jason Bright, meantime's got a curb strike here.
Hey guys, just down with Mark Dutton at Red Bull Racing. It's been a tricky old day with the old strategy calls, mate. You went very different ways with Craig and Jamie. Craig's moved up a few spots, Jamie's dropped a few. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's worked out quite right for Jamie.
No, not really for either, to be honest. Overruling is we just don't have enough car pace. Craig had very good tyres because unfortunately missed a shootout, so he's maximised on those. But we haven't been ultra smart or anything with our strategy. We won't lie. Car speed, we think we've let the boys down a little bit. We got to be honest.
Nice to have some honesty in pit lane. Thanks, buddy.
Cheers.
So it's only a little bit of fuel required now for both James Moffat, Rick Kelly in the Nissan Motorsport outfits, and a little bit also for Nick Percat. But the problem is you've got to get through the pit lane to do it. So that's going to hurt them and drop them back down the order towards the back end of the top 10. As we recycle this battle now between James Courtney and Shane Van Gisbergen.
About a 23-second cycle time through the lane here, plus of course whatever the stop entails.
The other advantage that they do have, though, when they come back in, they don't want to be stationary for terribly long, but it'll be just long enough. And here we are with James Moffat to get some tyres on there, so they'll have the benefit of fresh rubber, and that'll actually be handy for firepower near the back end of the race, particularly if you get a safety car at this point. Left rear was a little bit awkward then going on. Here we go on the left side of screen as well. I was focused on the Nissan, shouldn't do that because Van Gisbergen was all over once again the back of James Courtney. James is just on the teetering edge there. You can see the thing sliding everywhere. He's doing everything to try and hang on. Watch for Van Gisbergen to try and pull a move up here at 4. James is barely holding on to this thing. It launched and danced over the top of the bumps into 4. Tander's on a watching brief here in position number 3. Crisscross manoeuvre on the cards here for Van Gisbergen. This could result in contact. There is a little kiss there. Now the run to turn 7. James tries to slow him up mid-corner and then hold him down tight on the exit. Moves slightly to the right. Watch for a move down at turn 9 once again for Van Gisbergen. Tander's getting closer all the time.
Can Courtney hang on? Less than 16 laps to go. It's a long way. Look at Tander. Tander keeps the pressure on Van Gisbergen.
That was close. Garth Tander in a massive outbraking manoeuvre going into 9. Barely got it stopped, and James is really struggling to pull this car up. He's run a little bit wide there of 11. All 3 of these guys are absolutely on the pressure edge at the moment. They'll be dry mouths in both those garages. Techno Autosports and the Holden Racing team. James is the defending champion.
Yeah, the brake bias, mate. Just forward on the brake bias.
And the man racing him in car number 97. And they're urging James to just tweak the brake bias in this car. The man in car number 97 is the 2013 Clipsal 500 winner. So these are the 2 most successful men here on the Sunday in the recent past. Meantime, Mostert has got a second curb strike, currently in position number 6. But remember, Rick Kelly, Nick Percat still to stop. just a reminder again that there's a little difference in grip levels between these cars because Van Gisbergen in the Techno Holden put 4 tyres on in that stop, and Courtney just did the 2 rears. It's actually looking to me as though it's the rear of the car that's giving James something of a headache at the moment. So it's a little calmer this time down into turn 9 for all 3 of them, for Courtney, for Van Gisbergen and for Tander. Mostert is around about 4 seconds off this group, so he's just out of frame at the moment. But if anybody makes a mistake here, he'll range up into this battle as well in the Falcon.
So 3 guys who know what to do and how to go about celebrating in front of that big crowd here at the Clipsal 500. As Neil said before, Shane's been able to do it. 2013, James is the defending winner. Overuse of the curbs for car 8 for Jason Bright.
Winterbottom just got a curb strike, and so did Jason Bright, and that's moved him on to 3 for Jason Bright, so it's a bad sportsmanship flag for him now. So the shadows are getting a bit longer up there at the western end of the circuit as well. It makes it really difficult under brakes on the run up to Wakefield Street in particular at turn 4. Quite a number of them have got quite deep windscreen strips on the cars to deal with that. I noticed Coulthard in particular did. Tander's just dropped back a little bit in this last lap as he regroups from that big lunge. Those tyres will be hurting, those brakes will be mega hot, particularly after that big stop in the previous lap down there at turn 9 on the last lap.
He's tenacious, Tander, isn't he? Won this race, of course, in 2000. Clipsal 500 winner in 2010 as well. Little sideways for James off that turn.
Left car ahead. James getting affected by the heat of that car, so just keep driving straight, you'll be fine.
So last lap for James was a 1 minute 22.09. For Van Gisbergen, it was a 22.06. And for Tander, which confirms that little loss of pace, it was a 22.28. And Winterbottom's got another curb strike now that's taken him on to 3. So he'll get the bad sportsmanship flag in car number 5. He's currently in 8th position and out of lives. Watch for Van Gisbergen again. He's regrouping for an attack here through turn 7. He'll have a think about this. If he gets a good clean run through 8, he'll have a think about this again down at 9. But it's not easy to do in the hot, turbulent air of the preceding car.
Car 5, turn 2, curb overuse.
And Tim Schenken, race director, confirming what I mentioned there a moment ago about Winterbottom. He wasn't close enough through 8. He's actually better at the western end of the circuit than Van Gisbergen. He was a little stronger than James. Remember, we saw a few laps ago the back of James' car sliding around a lot. And so Al's asked him to change the brake bias percentage on the car, more brake to the front. He might also be having a little fiddle in the cockpit as well on those rear and front anti-roll bar controls. He couldn't quite get the car turned down then, and Van Gisbergen's ready to just grab him down the inside. Let's have a look at lap speed once again. It's a telling story. It's 1:22.3 for Courtney, at 22.3 for Van Gisbergen. And it was a 22.0 for Tander, so he made ground on that lap. And there he is, back in the frame again. The back of James's car is not happy over that bump late in the braking area at turn 4. It really dances awkwardly on the rebound side of the cycle. As it comes back up off the bump, it just has an awkward twitch in it, just as he wants to turn the car in.
11.5 laps remaining in this. It's going to be a phenomenal finish based on what we're seeing so far. Can James Courtney nurse it and look after those tyres, given the pressure coming here from Shane Van Gisbergen, and looking ultra hungry is Garth Tander. A great battle here. Riding with Tander now.
Lots of guys on the radio, they've reached that critical point in the race where they're hurting. So we've just heard Jason Bright saying, I'm struggling for grip. I just heard David Reynolds saying it's terrible as well. Got no grip. And look at Tander, another lunge down the inside. It was a shallow dive. It didn't really give him what he was looking for because it's made him slow on the exit as well. Murph?
Well, it's exciting for us, but Ryan Walkinshaw, you've lost all your fingernails. They're all gone, mate. A very nerve-wracking moment. You've got this Kiwi right behind one, and then you've got your other team car behind him. Very exciting.
Yeah, exciting is probably the wrong word for it. Absolutely terrifying at the moment, but look, we know we've got fast cars. JC's just got to keep it nice and clean and straight. It seems that Shane's struggling a little bit, getting it caught up in some of the hot air and nasty air behind the car, so that'll play into our favour. And if we can slow him down a little bit to get GT in the fight, then as we just saw then, hopefully GT can start making a bit of a nuisance of himself and start a three-way battle and keep JC in the lead.
Well, we know how much GT likes making a nuisance of himself, but he is the one sitting there, primed, ready to pounce just in case, and he's certainly not out of winning this thing either.
No, he's not. You know, he hasn't won it for a few years. I'm sure it'll be top of his list of things he would like today. So, yeah, I don't know.
Another big move for the lead.
Get back to it. Thanks, cheers.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Greg. Big move for the lead down at turn 9. Again, Van Gisbergen tries a shot down the inside, and again, it didn't totally come off. And Tander's right back in this too.
He looked like he had quite a slide guard through turn 8 last time around, so we'll watch that.
10 to go now, 10 to go.
Love some of the mine management chats over the radio at this point too.
They're all going to be skating home. Tyres have seen their best. And it's about somehow trying to get some consistency out of these tyres and cars now. Something to race with without taking it to the edge of a mistake, but they're absolutely wringing the necks of these cars in the closing stages of this motor race. Rick Kelly's still the leader, by the way, but he does have to come back in. He's got 18 seconds as a margin.
Need to confirm it too, but with that stop for Nick Percat a moment ago, I don't know whether he overshot the mark or whatever, they had to get the car back, some sort of...
Yeah, and then they went to work on it, so I think there's some other issue there as well. So pretty equal distance between Courtney, between Van Gisbergen, and between Tander at the moment. And it's been a big recovery for Garth Tander. There was a great solid run inside the top 10 both races yesterday. Here's the race leader. Rick Kelly is now in. So for Tander, it was a 7th and a 4th for him yesterday to get good points on the board. They've continued to make ground with that car, and he's now well and truly in the battle for a spot on the podium here at the moment. So with Rick Kelly coming in and only taking a tiny little bit of fuel, he'll go out on fresh tyres. He'll be well and truly, we think, inside this top 10. It's quite a battle pack that's just come off the final corner, though, so he's going to end up mixed up at the back of these guys. There he is emerging on the back of James Moffat, and he'll split Tim Slade. Meantime, back up the front at turn 4. Courtney doing everything to try and produce clean, straight laps that don't involve sliding the car. And every one of those lunges that Shane Van Gisbergen has just takes a little bit more out of everything. A little bit more out of the brakes, a little bit more out of the tyres, and all of these guys are right on the ragged edge at the moment, is the point.
You're following Marcus Ambrose, 15th at the moment. He was targeting a top half of the field finish if they could. Strong qualifying for him today, but this is the battle. Big, deep under brakes once again from the 97 of Shane Van Gisbergen. Tander's fallen back a little bit here relative to these two. James bounces off the curbs, up close to the wall through there.
It's a real pressure race for Courtney at the moment when you've got to try and drive the car at 11 tenths constantly and then always dealing with the pressure that's being applied by Van Gisbergen. But how'd you like to be in the middle of this battle here? So, headed up by Jamie Whincup, Chaz Mostert, Mark Winterbottom, Fabian Coulthard. Nothing between them. Tander's just eased off a little bit here. And I just heard radio communication to Scott McLaughlin there as well, and they're asking him to turn the engine off in car number 33. So those alternator woes are bothering him in the background in the pit lane at the moment. Have a go at Whincup down the inside here of Chaz Mostert. Diagonal to the corner, pinched it in on the rear brake. Here it is on replay from Jamie's point of view. Nicely done. Absolutely on the braking limit. Fed it back to first gear, nipped round the inside.
talked about Tander there before relative to the two guys in front here. His last lap was 7/10 shy of the performance we saw from Van Gisbergen and from Courtney. Karras has the hands crossed. Alan Gow, manager of James Courtney, to the right of your screen there.
Rick Kelly's gone out, not surprisingly, with a lower fuel load and good quality tyres and a rubbered up track, and is very quick out there at the moment, position number 9.
Got the speed to hold him off, just keep hitting your mark.
Bit of encouragement on the line there from Alistair McVeigh, James' engineer, always sliding perilously through turn 1-2 there.
Yeah, heartbreak for Nick Percat. He has a starter motor failure, so that his day is done.
I want to say that's the second one they've endured this weekend in that team too, Rihanna. And the one that failed earlier in the weekend was brand new. What a shame for the 222. I think we're on board with James when that happened. He went super close to the wall.
Well, that started back at the curb. See how he didn't actually get it turning. He nipped the brake, and then that just carted him wide. So that all happened a little further up the road, Murph.
Yeah, fellas, it just looks like James Courtney's just managed to be able to find that rhythm a little bit. But Shane Van Gisbergen has been pushing excessively hard with some amazing speed. But James has just managed to get away. But we just saw that little moment that he had at 11, which cost him some time. But the other thing I'm just waiting to see what happens is if Shane Van Gisbergen is just holding back a bit, giving himself a little bit of time, cooling those tyres off a fraction, he's going to have one last-ditch effort at the 22.
So it's actually 0.7 of a second. Just in this sector, it's come down to 0.6. It just keeps seesawing. It's opened up a little again between second and third. So Garth Tander is either just giving it all a rest for another attack, or the shot's being fired. That's as much firepower as he's got at the moment. So the last lap for these guys, 22.1 for Courtney, 22.3 for Van Gisbergen, and 22.1 for Tander. So James and Garth are locked on the same speed. It's just a fraction slower for Shane.
Can he do it? Can he go back-to-back, James Courtney, at the Clipsal 500?
It's like Garth lost a little bit more ground in the background there a moment ago. Also lurking around there, you've seen occasional glimpses of the car, was I think it was Will Davison in the Erebus car in the background. And then here's the gap back to the next group, which is now headed by Jamie Whincup. This is one of the interesting things for Jamie, that when they don't quite have the firepower, he still racks up good solid points. There he is in the foreground at the moment. There'd be nothing wrong with walking away from here with a 4th placing. So 4th placing on the Sunday is still worth 120 points. And that's the aim of the game once they know they're not in a winning position. So that safety car and its arrival, and then the way in which the strategies were played, gave everybody something to think about here. Just encouraging James once again to be accurate, hit the marks. He just got a curb strike, and that's only his first. So it's late in the game now. He can afford a few of those.
Take a look at how things might shake out depending upon the outcome of this race. Provisionally, Courtney would be at the top from Tander. Coulthard, yesterday's race 2 winner, and Van Gisbergen, who you are riding with here right now in the Darrell Lee entry. But we're not done yet in this race. As Murph suggested, has Shane got a little something in reserve, just cooled off, let things regather.
Just want to watch and listen to Shane at work here at the moment and just see what he's got and listen to the throttle coming off the corners. And he still looks like he's in reasonable shape. He's just got to find the right moment here. Let's just ride with him.
Only one strike, still only one strike. Be 3 laps to go.
That applies to both drivers. One strike for curb hopping for both Courtney and for Van Gisbergen. Not much in it, is there, when you look at it? 1 or 2 occasions there were moments where I saw Shane just having to catch the car and sort of focusing now on what James is up to in his car. And they've both got gremlins here and there, and in other places their cars are very good for this late stage of the game.
Just trying to put this all in perspective for everybody at home. And these guys have been in these cars, these sweat boxes, for coming up to 2 hours. They've got their cool suits on, but the air temperature in there, Neil, as you would know, is excessive, probably in the vicinity of 50, 60 degrees today. And they have been battling it out non-stop for that period of time. The concentration required to focus like those 2 guys at the front are doing, to punch out those laps and not give it away to each other. The concentration is just enormous, and they are both doing a good job, and they will not give up until the last lap is done.
At the peak of their powers, aren't they, these guys? They're super fit, they're in their race cars, and they're thinking about it day and night. And so it's just a video game for them at the moment. It's great to watch. Not much in it. Van Gisbergen, by the way, has just gone curb strike number 2. Back end of the race, he's going to dip into that bank, and that's probably a controlled strategy on his part. Gee, there's nothing in it once again. Van Gisbergen's going to have a huge lunge. He made a nice run through 8. He tries and tries and tries to sneak down the inside under brakes, but again, his nose is chopped off.
Nail-biting stuff for James Courtney. No one has gone back-to-back at the Clipsal 500 since Jamie Whincup, 2008, 2009. The other person to do it, Marcus Ambrose, 2004 and 05. Could James Courtney join that group today?
Incidentally, Ambrose is 15th in the field at the moment. So there's 2 to go. It's the replay of what happened down at turn 9. It was another exploratory look, but it didn't quite work. Oh, that's curb strike number 3 now for Van Gisbergen. So he's gone rogue agent. He's decided to throw it across the top of the curbs now to see what can be achieved. So he's out of manoeuvres. He's got to try and do everything he can. James is looking solid in terms of concentration. He's resisting the pressure. I reckon there was a tiny, tiny edge in lap speed for Van Gisbergen, but the hot, disturbed air was doing him no favours. And now it's just going to be about real driver savvy. Tander has got no response, but it's been a wonderful job in recovery. He's going to get a podium on these numbers, and that's going to yield a big pile of points, and that's a great way to start the series, because yesterday he had a good run, 2 results in the top 10. No lunge this time at turn 9 for Van Gisbergen.
Stressed faces back inside the pit bunker. Jonathan Webb watching his man in the Darrelly entry, the 2013 Clipsal 500 winner, the Kiwi Shane Van Gisbergen, battling last year's winner, hoping to go back-to-back. Courtney, lap car in front of them, the Super Black Racing entry. He's close here, he's close.
Really close. So this is going to stir the crowd along here.
Got last lap, you got a hop to use.
So it was a love bite through the final corner. Van Gisbergen on Courtney. No curb hops for either of them. James got through there cleanly. Shane's going to have a very, very big go on this last lap. He may as well play all or nothing. Courtney's resisting the pressure. Tander is content. So the only way that this is likely to happen at the moment is most likely down at turn 9. And I don't know, looking at that margin at the moment, that he's going to be close enough, quite frankly.
We know he's a brave guy. We know that he's fast, Shane Van Gisbergen, but he's been showing some real smarts in his relatively recent racing. He's fast through turn 8. They're close to the wall, but Courtney seems to have the edge. Big, deep under brakes from the 97, but not as close as the previous time around. Options, time running out for Van Gisbergen here. The HRT crew maybe about to go back-to-back, close to the wall, off the exit of 11. It's the run home. Crowd are on their feet. Shane, time I think has run out as they come through that final corner. James Courtney will go back-to-back at the Clipsal 500. He wins in 2015.
Awesome work. Oh! hard work. He did everything he could, but he couldn't get you. Great stuff.
Something ugly's happened there with Mostert and Moffat. That looked very nasty. Detract somewhat from the celebrations for these guys, but that's been a brilliant drive from James Courtney to resist the pressure. So Chaz Mostert, James Moffat, big heavy contact.
Yeah, tough luck, mate. Not much you can do there.
So Whincup and Mostert together, and Moffat just a victim. This is turn 10. Wow. Heavy contact with the concrete wall, and James Moffat just ended up being absolutely in the wrong postcode at that wrong moment.
There'll be some tension over that in the meantime.
Through 9 and 10 there, mate. There's a big accident in 9 and 10, so when you get there, be real careful. Medicals on the scene.
So let's hope the guys are okay on that basis then, given the severity of that hit. Celebrations have started for James Courtney.
Right, so when you get back here, we're straight down the pit lane and you'll cut yourself.
Moffat out of the car, assessing the damage. He'd shown good pace over the weekend. The 6 is moving, so that's an encouraging sign for Mostert. Look at the damage to it. Hit the wall yesterday, and then this within sight of the finish today. Crabbing the car sideways, trying to get back to the lane. Awesome stuff by Courtney. 90 career pole positions were achieved today. Did a great job. And goes on to add to his victory from last year, of course, with this outfit.
Just amazed by that scene that we witnessed a few moments ago of all that drama at turn 10. This is a sweet reward here for James Courtney. Back-to-back. Not a bad way to open your account, and he's going to lead the championship as a result of yesterday's points haul. Nice way to go to the next round of the championship.
In terms of event, 5th podium for him here, 2nd race win, of course. And as Neil said in the introduction today, to be the overall, to claim the overall win at the Clipsal 500 is by virtue of your result on Sunday. He has done it. They said it during the week that the rebuild of the team is done. They've got to start delivering results. That this rebuild, which has taken a few years to get HRT back to where they used to be in that dominant period of Scaife and Lowndes and others. Is this the beginning of that phase? He is wrapped. Courtney.
Nothing wrong with those energy levels.
Not at all.
That's a great drive. It's not just a case of picking up a race victory there. It's a case of withstanding astonishing pressure from Shane van Gisbergen, who was just unrelenting.
Good battle, wasn't it? Really good battle. Let's go to Rihanna.
Congratulations, James Courtney. You open up your 2015 season with back-to-back Clipsal 500 wins.
Oh, how good is that? That was epic. The strategy, the way it played out, we dropped back in the field and had to charge back through. And Shane had the youngest set of tyres at the end there, and we took everything to keep him behind me. And great effort from the boys. Some good clean stops, good strategy, and Thank God I pulled it off. It's amazing. Thank you.
Shane Van Gisbergen, he was pushing and pushing. He gave it everything he possibly could give, but you hold on.
Yeah, it was a really good fight with Cheese. We had a little coming together, but no, it was a good, clean battle, and HRT Commodore came out on top this weekend, Rihanna.
Thank you very much. Frank the Tank is back. Shane Van Gisbergen. Congratulations, you gave it everything you possibly had and more. He just had a little bit more that time.
Yeah, the strategy's going on. We didn't know what was going to happen, but that was just awesome. So good to have the Joel Lee Sticks car up the front. It makes up for yesterday's second race, but I hope you enjoyed that. That was pretty cool.
It was a sensational race, full of strategy, full of pace in the cars. There was plenty of action going on behind you, but you guys up the front, you just had that little bit more speed than the guys behind you.
Yeah, it was awesome. I had one good look at him and then just slid into him a bit, my mistake, so I let him back through. But just epic race. So happy. It was great fun.
Well done, Shane. Enjoy the champagne on the podium. Garth Tander, yesterday you wanted to rectify. You lost plenty of cars, but you didn't have to do it as much today. Congratulations on the podium.
Yeah, thanks. Both James and Shane probably just had a little bit more pace than I did. I was hanging on as best I could, and I was sort of egging Shane on, come on, have a go, so then I could slide through on both of them. But I'm really happy JC won. Awesome job by the team. Guys have done a mega job. Cars are really fast and really enjoying driving them. So Scarlett told me last night I must try harder and try and get on the podium. So that's for you, Dove.
Brilliant advice by Scarlett. 25th anniversary here. Holden fans, massive here at the Clipsal 500 to have both HRT cars on the podium. Sensational.
Yeah, like Shane said, it was a mega race. It was a lot of fun. We're pushing this. Nothing left, and there's a lot of Holden support here in Adelaide, and hope you really enjoyed it, and we did, and looking forward to a beer tonight.
Well done, Garth.
Cheers.
He's earned it. It's a family game. Really cool that his daughter had that advice for him. So James Courtney, the first to go back-to-back Clipsal 500 overall wins since Whincup in 08 and 09. He is just the fourth driver to achieve that feat in the event's history. Scaife, Ambrose, Whincup, and now Courtney have done it. Second time HRT has gone back-to-back as well. Mark Scaife did it 2002 and 03. Seventh Clipsal 500 win for the Holden Racing team, more than any other in the event's history. It's HRT's 13th individual race win at the Clipsal 500 as well, moving back in front of 888 by one to retake the record as most race wins by a team in the event's history. Awesome stuff, as Shane Van Gisbergen said, just in terms of the quality of the racing and the strategy today. They let things cool off a little bit. For a while there, Courtney seemed vulnerable under that pressure from Van Gisbergen. Then Shane kind of regathered as well, had a real good go at it with 2 laps remaining. Big lunge under brakes as we get set for the podium now.
It's time for the podium for race 3 of the Clipsal 500 Adelaide. Your first place driver for the Holden Racing team, James Courtney. In second place for Team Techno Darrell Lee, Shane Van Gisbergen. And in third place for the Holden Racing team, Garth Tander. Who better to take the team's award than the team owner of the Holden Racing team, Ryan Walkinshaw. Presenting the trophy for third place, Mr. Jeff Timms, Director of Sales, Schneider Electric. The second place trophy, Mr. Andrew Ford, Chairman of the South Australian Motorsport Board. For the winning team, Mr. David Gardner, Vice President of Clipsal Schneider Electric Partner Business. Your first place trophy, the Honourable Leon Bignell MP, Minister for Motorsport. And the winner's laurel, Mark Warren, Chief Executive of the South Australian Motorsport Board. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2015 V8 Supercars Clipsal 500 Adelaide Race 3 winners!
Congratulations to James Courtney, 176th Australian Touring Car Championship V8 Supercar win for the Holden Racing team. Extends their record in the category over every other team there in championship history. Maybe they're back. Great way to start, just as James did in 2014, Greg.
Yeah, here with Jamie Whincup. Obviously not the result you're quite looking for. The car speed just wasn't quite there today.
Yeah, no, just didn't quite have the pace today, so we were just trying to hang in there and get as many points as we can. But yeah, hey, obviously that last lap was a bit unfortunate. You know, I don't like to see damaged cars at any time. There was a car dropping oil, and it was in front of me through turn 8. So I backed off. Chaz went through flat out, had a bit of a run at me down to the hairpin. We did the crossover. He tried to go around the outside of the next, and hey, I can't disappear. So unfortunate for the incident, but yeah, I feel like I was a bit of an innocent bystander.
So he didn't give you enough room. He hadn't completed the pass, and you were still in there and really had nowhere to go.
Yeah, I was far up against the wall as I could, you know, and I couldn't go anywhere else. And he cut in. I assume he tried to leave me a car length, but that went to 3/4, and we just touched wheels. So as I say, unfortunate there's any damage, but yeah, we'll go home, do some homework, and see if we can improve our pace for the next one.
Yeah, a bit of a mixed weekend for you. Obviously, very strong Saturday. Had that issue yesterday, and you know, not too bad a result today. Still a decent amount of points for the weekend.
Yeah, hey, a lot of positives out of the weekend. So we'll go away and we'll take them, but of course, there's always negatives, there's always things we can improve on. So no, we'll keep our head down, keep doing the homework. Congratulations to HRT guys. This is one of the biggest events of the year, and you know, I'm happy for them. It's a huge win.
Well, it's I've just been given a stat. It's the first time in 3 years that a Red Bull car hasn't been on the podium on Sunday.
Yeah, no, we're really good. To be honest, yeah, that was one of the slowest cars I've had around here for a long time. So yeah, we'll go away, do our homework. As I said, congratulations to the other guys that got on the podium. It's hard work around here.
Thanks, J-Dub.
Thanks. Cheers.
So that's the way things wrap up. No doubt we'll look forward to hearing Chaz Mostert's side of the story. We take a look after 3 races here at the Clipsal 500. James Courtney, the man who won the championship in 2010, was a huge star in go-karts and open wheelers as a youngster, originally from Sydney, now based on the Gold Coast, is your points leader. Our thanks to Neil Crompton, Rihanna Crean and Greg Murphy. It's been an awesome weekend here at the Clipsal 500. Highlights of the race. Courtney made a very, very good start. Getting some air in the Jack Daniels entry. This was few of those up his sleeve, and then this within sight of the finish line. Big one in car 6, and remember, Pro Drive Racing Australia had repaired that car overnight to be ready for today's 250 Ks. He goes back to back. He joins the likes of Marcus Ambrose, Mark Scaife, and of course Jamie Whincup. Fantastic day, and Courtney finds himself at the top of the championship standings.